In lesson 1-4, we're going to look at the example, how can we distinguish oaks? And in this example, we're going to compare distributions with stem plots. How can we distinguish oaks? The problem says, of the many species of oak trees in the United States, 28 grow on the Atlantic coast and 11 grow in California. How does the distribution of acorn sizes compare for oak trees in these two regions? Here are the data on the average volumes of acorns in cubic centimeters for the 39 oak species. You can see listed separately are the 28 Atlantic and then the 11 California. We're asked to, in Part A, make a back-to-back stem plot for these data. In Part B, which of the two regions species has larger acorns? And in Part C, are the shapes of the acorn size distributions similar or different? So in Part A, making the back-to-back stem plot. So what we first want to do is make the stems. To make the stems, you want to look at both lists of data and figure out your minimum and your maximum. So the overall minimum is 0.3 cubic centimeters, and the overall maximum comes from the California trees at 17.1. So we're going to set up our stems to go from 0 all the way up to 17. Then on each side, we're going to put the Atlantic coast values and the California coast values. What we need to do next is add the leaves. So to do this, we want to put them in order. And so we're going to begin by placing the Atlantic coast value, 0.3. Then we're going to do 0.4, 0.6. Then for California, we can do 0.4. We can do the 1.0, the 1.6, and then so on. So filling in all your lists for the Atlantic coast and for the California coast. As a last step to making a back-to-back stem plot, what you need to do is make sure that you have a key or a legend to explain what each of these values mean. So your key here is going to be the two bars, which you can see are on either side, and we're going to focus in right here at this point. We can say 5 bar 9, when we're reading it this way to the right, means that it's a California oak with a 5.9 volume for the acorn. In Part B, what we want to look at is which of the two regions oak tree species has larger acorns. So when we look at this, we're going to look at the center. So for California, the center tends to be at about 4.1 cubic centimeters, which is higher than the Atlantic coast, which happens to be at about 1.7, where you can see this high bar. The last part, Part C, says, are the shapes of the acorn size distributions similar or different? So when looking at the shape, we want to see if they're symmetric or skewed where the clusters are. So when we look at this, the acorn sizes are quite different for the two. So if you look at the Atlantic coast, if you're to look at this from 0 to 17, we would have a skewed to the right distribution. For the California coast, we have a cluster from 0.4 to about 2.6 cubic centimeters. Then we have a second cluster here from 4.1 to 7.1 cubic centimeters. And then we have this very large gap up to our maximum of 17.1 centimeters. There's no clear peak in the California, whereas the Atlantic coast definitely has one single peak here around 1 centimeter or so. For extra practice, please try exercise 9.